Hey, it's James, Parents' Rights and Resource, hashtag how I got custody. This is the first time I really thought about this, but my online store, I thought I had to make a video of it. My online store has pretty much packets of paperwork that cover a legal strategy from beginning to end. It's I haven't thought about it before. I created the store, put as much stuff in there as I could, with information that I thought was relevant, packets of winning documents. Let me just take you through it real quick. In my online store, I think there's 17 packets, and there's one video on the evidence rules and explain the evidence rules, which everybody needs to know when you go to court, whether you got an attorney or not, because your attorney is not objecting when they violate the rules of evidence. So you should know them so you can get on your attorney on their job. But you got, like at the beginning of the case, people usually get a restraining order, especially against guys. I got a defense against restraining order packet. At the beginning of the case, you usually have to have a hearing to determine a temporary parenting plan. I got a packet that's a motion for a temporary parenting plan with all the arguments why parents should be considered equal, the studies and data, a motion sample with a declaration in support of the motion. If you got mandatory motion paperwork that's different than the Washington paperwork I have in there, the argument's still the same with all the science and the data and fatherhood involvement and equal parenting. And then I have a packet of samples of parenting plans. Now, they aren't Washington parenting plans, but it's still language that everybody should have and think about in your parenting plan, no matter what state you're in, about decision making, about what happens on tiebreakers for holidays. Like, it's my weekend, but it's like Memorial Weekend this weekend. Like, who gets Memorial Day when it's a long weekend, and who trumps who when that stuff happens? Or, bereavement, like you got your grandparent, the children's grandparents pass away, and you want them to go to a funeral, but it's not your weekend. You're able to cut it with the parenting plan. Stuff that I don't see these attorneys think of. You're able to cut into the other person's time in order to attend the funeral, and then they just make up time for the time that they missed. And it's limited to immediate family members, like your brothers and sisters, and the kids' uncle and aunts and grandparents, and limited to that. And stuff about phone contact and backup if there's no phone contact, or video web, web conferencing, or Skype, or FaceTime. So then you have the discovery process. I got a discovery packet. So just hear me out when all this stuff adds up. So you got a discovery packet. Then you have things like Civil Rule 11 sanctions. If the attorney gets out of line, or the mother or the father, the other side is violating Civil Rule 11 and coming to court with lies and claims, and they should be sanctioned. I got a contempt packet. I got defending a contempt if they do contempt against you. All in the meantime along the way. Then I have a trial packet when it comes time to come around to trial. Then, it has a trial brief, witness list, exhibit list, a cheat sheet for objecting to the evidence rules, what a trial notebook looks like with the exhibit list and witness list and the actual exhibits in it, so people can see a cover sheet for the trial notebook. If you're in Washington State, there's an EO 904 sample where you're trying to get stuff admitted into court without a fight beforehand. And then if you lose any of these hearings, I got a packet for a motion for reconsideration. I got a packet for a motion for revision in Washington State, which I've won plenty of. I've won some reconsiderations. It's hard to win, but sometimes I use that for a setup for appeal or revision. Then there's a packet if you lose a trial and you lose a reconsideration to appeal. So I can't remember everything that's in there. There's a couple other things. I got a declaration template, which is only $10. And then I got a packet for demand letters, demanding letters from the school district, police for compliance with your rights, a demand letter to an attorney to get money back, all kinds of different demand letters for different scenarios. That's $25. And everything else is $40. So even if let's say nobody's going to get everything out of there. I just talked to a guy today who has a trial coming up, and he definitely needs one of the packets, maybe two, and then possibly a third. That's just a personal preference. So The information that's in those packets are like full-blown motions or responses to motions, arguments, just with the templates that are in there. It gives people an idea of how to set up an argument, some of the content or the spirit of the argument. Even if I have Washington law in there or Washington case law, sometimes I have federal case law or constitutional rights like Chalkson versus Granville. There's still saving, instead of starting totally from scratch and totally blank and not knowing what to do or say, you got an example of the spirit of the argument, how to argue, some of the language. If you got exhibits and examples of, data and science and things like that, then it's kind of, it kind of makes it obvious like which way to go where you're totally in the dark before. That's why I make them only $40. When I can sell this stuff like Judge Anthony sells his packets of whatever he does for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I can get away with doing that. But it doesn't apply in every state as far as the laws. But all you got to do is insert your laws if you want to do that, go that route. And you got a structure and a plan and stuff. For $40 for two $20 bills. And these are things attorneys won't even tell you, but if they did tell you this stuff, or if they did write up a motion or write up a sample or did all the legal research, so you can and even with Washington case law in there, you see, like I might cite a court case like Kovacs in Washington where a dad got custody and they said, in the Supreme Court of Washington, they said, you can't just give custody to the primary caretaker. That's not in the law. You have to go through all the factors in the law. So your state has factors in the law. So you can look for a case law that looks like that Kovacs case and say, oh, that's a good idea. Let me see if there's case law like that in my state. Because in James' winning argument, he cited this Kovacs case that says there's no presumption of custody of the primary caretaker. So that might give you an idea looking for some case law that says primary caretaker custody or requirement to follow statutes or some kind of language. It'll still give you an idea how to narrow down your search, even if you never got a consult with me. Now it's advisable to get a consult and see what package you might want. Or if you just watch my free videos and you don't even know where to start on how to write stuff, how to do a trial brief. I mean, the trial brief that I had in my trial packet, that would literally cost you $1,000 to $2,000 if you had an attorney write a trial brief that thorough. Now, it's just a sample, so it's not going to apply to you exactly. But this stuff is worth, so if you got this stuff over the course of a year, you'd spend $40 or $80 a month getting this packet and that packet and whatever. The discovery packet, $40. Samples of interrogatories, requests for admission, and requests for production, $40. You send one of those packets off to the other side, they're going to spend $1,000 answering you if they got a lawyer. That's a huge return on your investment. So let's pretend, now again, nobody's going to ever buy all of the packets in there, but if you get on board, you get a consultation with me, and throughout your court case, you get a packet here and a packet there. Let's say for the sake of, over the course of 10 months, you go to trial and you buy like one packet of mine a month. That's $40. That's $400 over the course of almost a year. In 10 months, you will have spent $20,000 to $30,000 on an attorney. And then you get a couple consultations with me for $90 for an hour or whatever. You're still under $1,000 and you're spending $20,000 on an attorney who doesn't even want to fight for you. They want to get. I just talked to somebody who is talking to an attorney who doesn't practice regularly. He told me that this attorney admitted all the family law attorneys don't want to fight. They don't care. They're sellouts. The law, they don't apply the law. They don't fight for the law. They don't fight for your rights. They just want to get a big fat retainer and milk you for that and work that and then dump you when they're done with it. That's what I've been saying for 20 years. And a client of mine acknowledged that an attorney said that. So if you talk to a retired attorney or somebody who's off the record or not all in the mix, who's not worried about confessing to what really goes on, they will tell you this. I have attorneys active now who tell me this off the record. They're sick and tired of how corrupt the court system is. But the problem is the attorneys are the one who are the court system, so they should go in there and fix it. Now, some of them are trying, but they get burnt out after the first year or two. I've been doing this 20 years. These attorneys get sick and tired and beat down and emotionally aggravated by listening to cases all the time. But my point is, that $10,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 you're going to spend on your attorney, they don't plan on going to trial and fighting for you anyway. Why wouldn't you go to my store and take advantage of all the stuff that's in there? It's basically a full-blown strategy Now, I mean, you need one-on-one, instruction and navigation and all kinds of guidance and stuff, but it's basically a game plan or an arsenal of weapons for a year-long war. You can literally in a year spend $40,000 on an attorney. And I just said in a year, you can be fully informed and have all this great information, getting 10 packets over a year and spend $400. So what's that? You spend 100 times more on an attorney than my store. So consider checking out my store. That's not a brag. That's just the reality. Every single document I have in there has some component that helped me win and other people, especially defense against restraining order packet. I've had countless guys who fought off bogus restraining orders. Your dumbass attorney is saying, don't attack the mom, just kind of take it and say, you don't want to talk to her, so it's no big deal. And then you sell yourself out, boom, restraining order. And that's used against you, you don't see your kids. So consider checking out my store.